Can I?
All right. So what a lot of people don't know over the last, let's say, it's been happening over years, but what really kind of exasperated like the situation of what's happening with AI was again, ChatGPT just created a way for people to communicate with the chatbot that's going to generate an answer. Automations and AIs have always been here. Jasper was here beforehand, which was a software that was out there. Google's been developing AI. IBM Watson existed. That was the first variation of AI. I mean, and since 2017, Google's been really at it. What a lot of people don't know is that all these people are now competing for four different spaces. There's four competing technologies that are really happening right now. They're at the forefront that you're going to watch. They're going to explode at the same rate that we just saw with what's happening with AI, but at a very exponential rate. So the first one is there is a consistent battle and now going on between several different vendors of who's going to have the best AI. First is obviously everybody knows ChatGPT acquired by Microsoft. Don't know if you know it or not, but as of recent news, Meta and Microsoft have now joined forces where they're creating a different language model that is going to be enhancing ChatGPT. So they're combining forces. Then you have your Bard, which is Google's version of AI that is under the Palm E, I believe is the Palm E2, I believe it's called. And that's their large language model that access ChatGPT. Powerful thing about Bard is that Bard has the algorithms behind it that has like YouTube and Google search. So now they have the immediately ability of like grabbing all of the current information, which ChatGPT and these other systems don't, because they're limited by 2021 of September or whatever the case is. So think about that. Now you have one that has a creative mix and it's now getting Meta involved. Meta being as powerful as it is combined with Microsoft, that is a very dangerous combination. You have Google with this now very factual, more, I say statistical based like AI that's going. And then you have Claude 2 by Anthropic, who's passing the bar exam and the Python test at like 73, 75%. It is increasing as it's developing. So it's
Mm,
getting smarter.
mm,
And Claude already broke the token issue that is existing in ChatGPT. And for anybody that's listening that doesn't really understand, tokens means how much information can an actual session remember. And ChatGPT went all the way to 16K tokens, which means about just think about a words per phrase. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, but just to simplify it. Well, Claude is already at 100K tokens.
right.
So now you have these three very big animals like competing against the same space, but that's only one big piece of it. What's happening in the background, what everybody's kind of falling asleep on, but it's like the hidden thing that's happening is think about the battle that's going on with virtual reality. You have Meta who completely committed and becoming a virtual reality company, bought Quest, did all that, and now Meta's going into. Guess who's just got into the game? Apple.
Yeah.
Apple now got into the virtual reality game and also at the same time is using augmented reality and is trying to combine both. And guess who's been doing it all along, but nobody's been knowing about it? Google. If you now take your maps, Google Maps, everybody knows Google Maps. You're either Google Maps or you're a Waze fan. But most people are Google Maps.
Right.
If you take Google Maps and you go to any major large city and you take your phone and you go to Google Maps, there is a button that's called live mode. You click on live mode, it will show you a screen and the arrows appear in alternate reality. So you can actually see where you're going. Guess what also appears? Reviews of places that you're nearby, restaurants that you got to visit, and it's already augmented here. So now Google, Apple, and Meta are playing the virtual reality / augmented reality game. So all of this is transpiring while this big AI war is going on. And it's the same players almost, with the Apple being the maybe one exception.
Right.
Now, those are the first two ones. So you got that, and I'll consider that two separate ones because virtual reality and augmented reality, same but different.
Mhm.
Augmented reality is you coexist with whatever you're seeing. Virtual reality means it's in a virtual space. A couple years from now, combine your AI with your augmented and your virtual, we are going to be a whole different planet. Because think about it, you're sitting with your friends and you want to order some food, you put your AI glasses on and you order right from a blink of an eye, select your menu items, and it's all right there. Then you can have your AI suggesting what you should be eating and why you should have gone there in the first place.
Right.
So that little monumental battle is going on, but it's a very quiet battle that nobody knows about. But all these advances that are happening in AI are leading into that. And then there's a third silent one that nobody really honestly understands. and it's robotic process automation, which is RPA. So RPA is, think of any task that can't be handled by AI, that can't really be handled by virtual reality and augmented reality, but it is kind of almost the in between. Like, as of now, we can't have doctors be, AI doctors and robots that can do surgery. Some maybe, but not quite there yet. But think of it where you're working at, let's say, an old bank that's like from the 1960s, and they haven't updated their software. And you have Mary who's sitting in that office, and all she's doing is transposing information from the old system onto the new system. And all it is keyboard strokes, meaning she's clicking keyboard strokes. Well, guess what RPA does? It records the strokes with some intelligence and does everything for you. So now you just eliminated Mary, and now you're having a bot that's working for 24/7. RPA is so important that people will actually buy computers for the RPA agent, and it runs a whole computer system like by itself, doing these mundane tasks on anything that doesn't fit the bill. That battle is also going on, and there's things like Automations Anywhere and a couple of other big players in that space that are happening. Now, the reason why all these are all important is because they all can work together at some given point in time. So think about what it's going to fill as we develop over the next few years. And what's wild is, think about what's happening with AI. Right now, we'll say about, like, I think 13 million is the total amount of people that are actually actively using it, sort of. And you got maybe about, I would say, 1 to 5% who are really, really using the tool to its limits. So it still leaves a lot of room for growth. Now, what's crazy is ChatGPT's overall, the amount of people that are using it as of today is declining. Bard is going upwards because it's becoming a little bit more factual and can grab information. It's getting smarter. There's a lot more development process to it. So you have these growth cycles that are going to happen at any given time. One can supersede the other by tenfold. One little development can catapult any of these technologies completely off the charts. And let's not forget that Elon Musk just announced that he's coming out with an automation tool. Right. So that's why it's a pretty crazy time to go live. But guess in the next 2 years, guess what's going to happen? So the normal adoption, I think it took like 15 years for the car to be fully adopted everywhere. It's going to take about 2 years, by what at least analysts are predicting, that everybody's going to adapt AI. Well, that's one part of it. What happens when people are going to adopt AI, the market is going to be flooded with a lot of generated, very just kind of mundane stuff with not a lot of personality, a lot of kind of riddled stuff and everything else. What's going to be wild in the next 2 years, people are going to start reverting back. They're going to want less automation and more personal.
Right.
So the people who figure out how to put personality and personal into the automations now will be 2 years in advance of when everything comes retro back. It's going to be like the new bell bottoms.
100%.
Well, we don't want all the automations. I want to do everything manual.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
I 100% agree. I had this crazy proposal where it's like, I wonder if you can imagine a future. This may be totally off the wall. I'm curious what you think. Imagine you have a future where it's like, instead of having, certified organic or certified non-GMO or certified whatever, it's like certified human labor. Like human labor did this. It's handcrafted, and you have logos and branding, and that's where I think blockchain becomes interesting, because you can verify that, like, I wonder if you could have a keyboard that can verify that it was actually human strokes, like a CAPTCHA that actually wrote this email or something like that. Yeah, so I'm in agreement with that.
But it's going to be interesting of how far that's out. I think it's how far we advance and how quickly this progresses forward at the pace that it is going to dictate when people are going to crave that. I will bet my bottom dollar that you are absolutely right on that. I think there's going to be a point in time where automatic cars are going to be a great thing, but people are going to like, well, I want to drive my car.
Right.
What are you going to have to the people that bought Porsches and now they can't drive because it's all automated?
Right.
It's the same exact thing. Like, it's going to get to a point in time where people are going to crave that attention and everything else, but it's riding that wave until we get there, and then being 2 years in advance and going, well, if I think now that if I could get my automations or my AI to do these things, then
I can master the personalized aspect of it. Exactly. Better customer service, more human interactions, more experiential stuff. Yeah.
How can I make it so experienced that when you're dealing with a bot or an AI kind of version of like a business or whatever else, that it's so realistic, it's funny, it's got humor, it's got something, it's engaging, that it can automatically come back and do that. And that's what's wild. NVIDIA, who is a video card processor of all things, like a video card for games. They're huge. They have it. It's on PlayStations. It's on Xboxes. They're a huge chip manufacturer. They came out where they connected AI to the video games, and they had a conversation with an AI agent in the game with people typing questions and it having a full-blood like a little character in a game that ended up being this massive conversation and everything else. So it goes to show you that the virtual reality space at some point in time will be inundated, but then it's going to increase the worlds of things of like how they exist in this virtual space. I'm telling you, if like people don't watch, this is going to sneak up on us pretty heavily. You know what I'm saying? That all of a sudden you're go from like, oh, AI's around to like, no, put some glasses on. AI's everywhere. You've just been asleep for like 2 years or 3 years, and here's where it is. I mean, I live in there was a guy actually just did a TED talk where he's wearing, and I don't know if you've ever saw this, wearable tech. So awesome. Wearable tech with AI already done. It's already done. It's already out. This guy's already figured it out. He's walking around and it's like, Jim, your heart rate's increasing by like 10%. Please try slowing down and taking a breath. His wife calls, he taps his jacket pocket and he's talking to his freaking wife. It is really like dynamic, all the way that different people are using that. So, and it gets to the point where, hey, I'm about to have lunch. Here's my choices. Where can I go? And he says, well, based on your heart rate and your current weight, you should go here. I mean, it was pretty funny, but it was on point. But it's just kind of the direction. So think about it. Like you have all these different things to watch, but I'm telling you, if I had to put my money on where things are going to go, this is exactly where you have to kind of keep your eyes about. And people really got to get used to the fact that in the future, AI is just going to be a co-pilot. And if you can accept that mentality, it's not going to take over your job. It's going to enhance you doing your job. You know, that's kind of the methodology and thinking that you're going to be, to the point that it'll get to, well, no, I want somebody to physically do this for me, and I want to make sure that it's going to become a novelty. And to your point, maybe it is. Maybe it is like the new Bitcoin of like naturally made by John Smith at like 5214.
Yeah, no, that's
crazy
funny.
thing like that.
Can I ask you, what are, it's what, July 24th, 2023. So this answer will change, I'm sure. But right now, what are the 3 AI tools that you use most often in your workflow, in your business? Yeah, what are those 3 tools?
So the 3 tools that right now are the bigger focus for me. Well, one is I'm trying all the AI tools as much as I can get, right? So the 3 big that I keep playing with because I like the different answers that they get is, one, I like Claude, Bard, and ChatGPT, and I'm using them very interchangeably. I think that just you got to know all 3 because they're all of them give 3 different responses. I tried it all, and each one of them is starting to serve a purpose. Like you got more of the creatives that are in Claude and Bard. No, I'm sorry, Claude and ChatGPT, and you have the more factual, like helping me pick my next stocks for my kids in Bard kind of thing. Even though it says you can't give financial advice, it's pretty on point because it's pulling realistic data. And if you give it measurements, hey, look for this, this, and this, it comes out pretty heavily. Those are definitely it. The second thing is, as far as like potential tools, is I believe no code is going to be the future. I think things that require very little coding, but more understanding how processes work is where it's going to go. So big fan of the Bubble.io, where you can create apps in minutes. I think a lot of people with the code generation being now done with your ChatGPTs and your Bard and your Claude, all of them do it, and they do it significantly well. I mean, look, it's never going to be a seasoned programmer that's been doing it for 30 years for now. And it's never going to be that creative person that figures out the calculation for whatever it is to produce a very quality app or whatever else. But if I have a no code app that I can drag and drop and I can make, and I can buy a template and make my own Netflix in less than a day, that's going to put me significantly.
Cool. Yeah.
It's pretty darn cool. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think no code's a very big answer to getting startups quickly and to just validate. Bigger companies like Capital One and these other banks and people with a lot of money will actually build in Bubble.io to validate proof of concept before they go spending gazillion freaking dollars getting it built out by a programmer, because there's so many things that can go wrong when you do that, right? And just to see if it sells, you know what I'm saying? Just to get a proof of concept working so people can try it out. Oh, it's like, okay, now go make the code for it. That is another one. And that has no, I mean, it has AI components because you can bring AI into the builds. Like I can create my own ChatGPT in like a matter of minutes, and bring in ChatGPT and OpenAI in order to communicate with. Um, so that's another one. And probably like the third one is just the media creation side of things. Like I am not a creative, like that is not my MO, but man, Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, messing with some of the things and beautiful art that comes out of there, and people that have mastered the arts of prompts and the things that come out of these things is amazing. I bought one in you because there's a lot of places where you can buy these prompts now. I bought one where you can create Marvel characters. My son and I must have geeked out for 4 hours straight. I think we made every superhero known to man, and it was amazing. The different, make him a ninja, making this, make the Hulk fighting and it was just like it came out like we were looking at a full action movie, and I thought it was amazing. And the fact that it's so creative in the way it thinks, I don't even know where it's pulling from. How does that algorithm work? Like the creativity of like figuring all this out, and then what other people are doing with prompts to push it, and how they're combining prompts, artworks, artists, and make it in the style of this artist, and combine Marvel with like Van Gogh and come up with something. I mean, it's bananas, like in some of the things, and it is art. I mean, to me, it's still, even though it's generated by a computer, it's being input by a human being that has a creative mind, and to me, it's just accelerating all that. But there's a lot of different softwares that are starting to pick up now. You can create ad creative for anybody that's running marketing or any kind of ads. You can create literature of any sort. People are creating children's books using AI. There's a lot of really good things that are out there. Scripts, movie scripts, man, you can be writing a full movie script if you put your mind and heart to it and just give it a little bit of a story. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So it's what is um one of the more interesting or unique kind of specific to you use cases that you found for this AI tool? And I'll tell you one that I used that I wonder, I don't know if anyone else did, but one of my passions is like poetry. Like I love poetry. And there's some really difficult poets out there. Like one of my favorites is Hart Crane, and he's got some really hard poems. So I took one of his poems and I put it in ChatGPT and I said, rewrite this poem, the simplest prompt possible. And it basically just created synonyms for all of it. But it was so, to me, who loves words and loves language, it was so fascinating to see the same the same poem rewritten, and like, and it opened up the poem to me in such an interesting way, because I was able to see like, oh, if they had used these different words, how would that change the meaning and the nuance and the tone. And it just made the poem, it gave me so much more insight into the poem and so much more appreciation for the original poet, to be like, oh, I understand why they made these word choices versus other ones. So that's one use case that I found like super interesting. I wonder if you have anything else that's specific to you, narrow, maybe not useful to anyone else, but that you found really unique.
Yeah, so actually, I have, look, I get chills just thinking about it because it was just funny, right? So I think I shared this with you, and I'll share it with the public. My dream is always, I've always had a dream of living on an island. It was a very, I mean, I grew up in a very poor neighborhood in a very messed up background, right? And everything that I've ever worked for was like, through 3 jobs in college and paid my own way and all that crazy story. Even helped my parents at a point in time. Um, so I never thought I would own a house. I never thought I would have a wife. I never thought I had 3 kids. I never thought I would have a career in corporate that I did for 25 years. And then on top of it, have a successful, like, 2 entrepreneurial business that do incredibly well. Like I just, it got to a point where I just didn't know I didn't know how to create other goals. So then, through a lot of coaching and self-development, I just created an auspicious, like a crazy goal that, well, I want to live on an island. Well, as of late, like I think I shared with you, I'm like super happy about it. We're in contract, and hopefully by the time this airs, like I'll be sitting at a beach drinking a mimosa. But it was to an island. But what's crazy is it's in another country, and it's my country of origin, which is Portugal, but it's in a far off little part of Portugal, in an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I don't know how to read or write Portuguese. Like I can read it, but it's struggle. Well, guess what? I had to write a consulate letter. I had to write a letter to immigration. I had to write a letter to the lawyers. I had to write, and I couldn't. It would cost me thousands upon thousands of dollars to get a translate. And the time I would lose every house that I would bid on because I wouldn't be able
It
to
would take
compete.
so
I
much
literally
time.
spit this thing out in ChatGPT, and I have a full-fledged lawyer letter in like minutes. And it wasn't even that I'm like, okay, well, I can sort of afford this house, but I can't. Give me like a business plan on how to make this an Airbnb. Man, it gave me like, turn it into a tourist attraction. Here are the areas in the surrounding areas that you can promote in your Airbnb. Here's what I would cultivate. And all I did was put little information on it, like how many bedrooms and what it has and blah, blah, blah. And this is how you're going to feature it. And this is like the local amenities that you're going to mention. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then like, I have enough marketing skills where I could just throw it up on a website and like, awesome. Then I'm like, well, crap, I'm like super busy. I don't have time to answer people's questions. I'm in another country. How am I going to interact with people that need Wi-Fi and like, where do I go? And, all of this. Well, I created a bot using AI that now sits on the website that works in WhatsApp, which is an international thing that all of a sudden will, if they ask Wi-Fi, it goes back, well, here's a Wi-Fi code. If they, hey, what
Wow.
can I do around here? It goes out. And all I did was feed it a little bit of information to it. And it gave me an out, and it gave me a way to do that. And then instead of me being panicked, it became, like I told you before, this is where the concept of a co-pilot really comes. Man, just having almost like a person you could shoot the crap with, and all of a sudden it comes out and like, here's your resource. But just asking everyday kind of questions in that. Now, funny you say about poetry. For the longest time, man, I just like I don't mind watching Shakespeare. I get lost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what like some of the things are. Like Macbeth, you can probably like, it's funny. I have a person who's very into Shakespeare. She has to explain to me this like 17 times. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Uh-huh.
So, but that's what I did. I literally put it in there and I said, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh,
It makes sense.
I get it now.
Yep.
So it's interesting you're saying that, but it's the common uses of things that I would normally probably not pursue because of the time involvement or something else, that it just gives you so much more, like to your point, you just experience a whole poem in like in a different way. I experience this like writing Portuguese, and it's like teaching me Portuguese now. So I'm
Right.
like, so like I would never have that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah, what a great answer. I love that. Yeah, well, I appreciate your time, man. That's awesome. I'm
No
sure we'll
problem.
have you back on for all the in the future
Little
when
nuances.
change in 3 weeks. All right, bro.